Are you curious to find happiness and fulfillment all at the same time? Are you feeling like maybe you're stuck in the safety of home when you have teenagers at home? Well, that's not necessary. And at Teen Minds Redefined today, we have a beautiful guest, Christiane Schroeter, who is the founder of A Healthy, Happy Nest. And it is a platform dedicated to guiding moms at life's crossroads. And I want to welcome Christiane. This is a really great topic. I've been hearing about it from moms. And as you get into these different communities and networking, there's a lot of moms who are stuck. They're stuck at home. They've got teenagers. They've got these jobs. They've got, dads just or their partners just telling them how things are going to go. And they're feeling like, this does not feel like me anymore. So welcome. I think this is your forte. Tell us, first of all, what's your mission? What's your motto of why you're here?
Well, thank you so much, Cheryl, for having me here. I'm really excited to share some of my tips. First of all, I am a mom and I have 2 teenage daughters. So that immediately rings a bell. All what you talked about is also familiar. And then I work full-time as a professor. I teach innovation entrepreneurship. I teach marketing. So I definitely have my platter with my full-time job. My side gig is I am a business and wellness coach. So the innovation entrepreneurship and my health practices also extends into a private coaching. I have a mastermind. And that business, Hello Happiness, has been helping hundreds of women all over the globe. So I'm so excited to share today what has helped these amazing women and how we can get unstuck.
I love it. I love it. And it just right away brought me back to I was a hairdresser, and then I owned a restaurant, and then I became I taught adults for a while, which did not require a whole lot of credentials, but then loved it. So when my kids were 6 and 4, I went back to university and figured something else out. So it's never too late. And I've now just left my 28-year teaching career to do this. So it's never too late. Get unstuck. But let's talk about, like, what does that mean to be stuck? Like, what does it mean, in your opinion, to be stuck?
Stuck really is this kind of like nearly inability to move. You're looking at a mountain that's right ahead of you, and you're feeling completely unable to even like do anything. It could be that you have tons of post-it notes cluttered on your desk. It could be that you look at your calendar and it seems like things are just stacking back to back. And because there's just so much going on, sometimes we just sit down and we're like, I don't even know where to start, right? Or think about your house. You might have piles of laundry, dishes. You might have, messy rooms, papers, bills piled up. So it's basically this pile. And because there's this pile and it's just us, or you feel like completely overwhelmed and we don't even know where to start. So wherever you turn, there's just crap piled up, so to speak, right?
And what gets us there? Like, at what point do we go, uh-oh, like, are there little, like, things that we start to notice but ignore, or, and I kind of liken it to, and it's not the same, but when people get to, like a hoarder situation, or, a situation with their body where they're not comfortable with their health or their size. And I always wonder, where's the trigger where you can't go back? You just stay there. Can you speak to that?
Oh, yes, for sure. And it's actually amazing that you bring this up to where you're comparing it to wellness, because I am also a fitness instructor and I'm a wellness coach. And I get this question all the time. How can I lose 20 pounds by May? So within like 4 weeks, because I'm on a cruise, or I have a 20-year high school reunion and I just need to lose that weight quick. And that's really the point where there is a deadline, that high school reunion or the cruise or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, we just need to get this thing off, right? And then is exactly what my biggest question always is. Well, how did we even get here? Because it didn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
We would like to get rid of it overnight, but it didn't happen overnight. It was kind of this accumulation of small things. And eventually, that complacency, that, well, I'm going to start it tomorrow, the procrastination led to where we are now, which is we're just not happy with our weight. And we just want to show up at that reunion looking like it never happened. And sometimes I tell my children, when we have like laundry out there, when we have friends coming over, we just take the laundry baskets and we put it out of our bedroom. And then they're gone, right? And the friends come and it looks all good.
Yep.
But then I open the door to my bedroom and have the laundry
It's
basket
still there.
So it's like, yeah, you can't really undo it. We do need to fold it eventually. And just pushing laundry baskets from one room to the next room is really not going to get rid of this issue.
Mhm.
Right? Or finding fresh laundry every morning and dumping out the laundry baskets on the bed and just finding underwear and socks. It's really not going to get rid of it. So how about we just create a system that after we do laundry, we just immediately get rid of one basket instead of waiting for 5 baskets to pile up. And then it's like this, again, mountain of laundry. Why don't we just immediately, as soon as the laundry comes out, we'll just each grab an arm and we just sit down for 5 minutes. Actually, it's really not much longer than that.
Mhm.
The laundry and put it away. And then it doesn't even get to the point of like absolute mess to when the friends come over where we're like, oh my gosh, the house looks so messy, right?
Yeah. Perfect analogy. And you can use it in anything. We can use that in our debt. We can use that in our bodies.
Yep.
So I'm wondering here, how do we get here in the sense that I'm a mom and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. I don't, this is no, but I have these kids depending on me and I have a husband depending on me and I have this path, like I'm just supposed to follow the path. So how do we get there? How do we get to that point?
Yeah. So when you started talking at the beginning of the podcast, and you kind of like started weaving in a little bit my specialty. So my specialty really is I help moms that are at the crossroad. One path is a safe path. It could be your teaching career. You've been doing it and you're good at it. And it's just this everyday grind, a 9 to 5 job. You come home, it brings home the money, and it's all good. It's safe. It might not be your absolute favorite thing to do, but it's safe and you know how to do it, right?
Mhm.
And the other path from your crossroad is the one where you know that there is something else out there for you. Is that path going to be safe? No, because you just don't know exactly. You look down that road, but you can't really see it very well because you've never taken it,
Mhm.
because you never really went for your dreams. So you have those dreams, you have those goals, and you know that you really, really want to go for them. But you have also that fear deep down where you're scared because you know that there might be challenges, there might be failures. It's not just going to be you walk down there and boom, you reach your dream. So I help women to make that decision to go for their dreams, even though it might not be the safe choice, even though it might be the bold decision to do this, and then really not waiting until, I mean, I frequently get this, oh, when I retire, I'm going to do this, or when the kid's out of the house to do this. Don't make somebody else's deadline your deadline. You're living on your own schedule,
Ooh.
and you're going to weave that deadline in, and you're going to start walking down that road, and we're going to get through this together. So that's really the goal, that we are not just like sitting down and we're like, well, I'm just going to go the safe route.
Mm.
We're going to start going down that route and we're going to go for your dreams.
That's so good because it's so me. Only I kind of did go with somebody else's timeline. It took me a lot of little whispers. And then, most people plan leaving their career and, I'm going to have this safety net and I'm going to have the, and last year, like April, I just said, I'm out, I'm done. the whisper became this big clunk in my head. And it was something I could not stop thinking about. And then all of a sudden, every Facebook post, every Instagram post, it's in my face. Like, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. So talk about that. Like, talk about, you know what I mean? Like, feeling like, oh, I know it's there, but there's so many things in my way.
Mm-hmm. So frequently, especially as females, the first thing is we're actually kind of afraid to even talk about it, because I don't want to say it feels frivolous, but it doesn't really feel like we should be doing this. I mean, we have a job, so people look at us and they're like, she got her life all together. Why is she thinking about even like changing? It seems good from the outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even though deep inside we are like, no, I have this fire and it's burning. And I know, I know I meant to do something else.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, when you start thinking about it, you see the signs everywhere. It's nearly like when you want to buy a new car and all of a sudden you're on the road and you see your car, the one that you want to buy, everywhere. It's like, I see it. I see it. And I like it so much, right? That's kind of like how it is, because you're becoming more conscious about the fact that in reality, you're actually really not happy on your safe path. And that on that dream path, you're basically going to feel like, this is me. I'm tapping into my superpower and I'm finally feeling I'm becoming the person that I'm meant to be. And it's really the fulfillment that I've been waiting for at the crossroads right there. Mm-hmm. So that sometimes like this fear of failure will crush more dreams than failure ever will, because we are so afraid to even start going down the path that we tend to procrastinate and postpone it. And that's really not ever going to get us there, right?
Yeah. And also, I think for me I was comparing myself to, I'm thinking about doing this, to someone who's making $100 million doing it and is all over the place and very successful. And it's like this big black tunnel that I can't see step to get there. So then I'll never be able to do that.
Yeah, it's the complete imposter syndrome. And what it starts with, of course, is social media. You mentioned that you saw these signs everywhere on Facebook now. So unfortunately, we tend to only see then those success stories on Facebook. And I always embrace people that really share their struggles. We're basically saying, yeah, I just spent whatever, $5,000 in programs. And you know what? They go to the graveyard of programs that I purchased that I actually never opened, right? We've all done this, but
are you looking behind me? Like, I feel like you just
there's the graveyard. Pop, just another program. It looked good, but then it actually didn't really do anything. And so people just don't talk about that. And that's unfortunate, because the struggles are more inspiring than the success stories. It's so great to look at these people, and they're sitting somewhere and they're at the pool, this infinity pool, and they're zipping a drink, and you're like, oh yeah, I want that. But do we actually want that? Because I started to think, I don't even know that I want that. It's absolutely not me. I want something where life is a little bit messier. And it is a little bit more quirky and fun, because I am not that person that sits at the pool. I just don't. I don't think that I would feel comfortable. So I started to feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. And all of a sudden, I started to realize that's me. I actually like those kind of uncomfortable situations, because I'm constantly feeling my mind is growing and I'm in this growth mindset instead of in the fixed mindset where I used to be before, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're bringing so much of this, like tapping into your self-awareness. How does this feel? Because, and what I did notice when I got out of teaching and just kind of went, I was like, I have spent 25 years in a system. So I was plug and play. I walked into school, I taught the kids, I worked one-on-one, I talked with parents, but it was all laid out for me. And then I didn't realize, and thank God I didn't realize, because I probably wouldn't have done this. I'm sitting in front of my computer going, the hell's an email list? What's a lead magnet? I don't know how to, I have, right? Like nothing. Business plan, I still don't have that lined out. But if I had have really thought about that, I never would have done it. But then what I find for me is when I find one thing that I know I can do really well, or that I really love to do if I'm in the middle of a mess that I can't figure out, like creating my own website, I love to do the podcast. Like this is my jam, just to meet people and get information, be able to share it. This I love. So I will go back to this, and then I get a little more courage to go, okay, now I'll spend 10 minutes over here now, because my confidence has kind of gone up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like when people are in like corporate jobs, they are in a system and they don't see the other side, because what is the other side? It's a big mountain. And yeah, can you talk to that about?
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about a solopreneur is that you are in charge of what you want to do on that day. And there isn't like a schedule or itinerary or classes that you have to do on this day, office hours you have to hold. That's also the bad thing, right? So now you have this whole day and you have the calendar staring at you and you have these to-do lists, and you could always create an Instagram post, or you could write a blog post, and how about cleaning up that email list? And it just seems so daunting because it's just you, and there are so many ways you can turn and get your amazing superpower out there. So what you mentioned, Cheryl, is exactly what I would recommend. Start with what you know best. That doesn't mean you procrastinate the other things. It more means that it builds that confidence to keep going. So in my practice, actually call it petite practice. We're starting with something small that's manageable, and that builds momentum then to go to the next one and to go to the next one. So nearly like you're traveling somewhere in Europe, and the flights are pretty short, right? It's just 2 hours and you're in a different country. Instead of like going like to Australia, which from the United States is a long flight. So don't do the long flight. Think European twist, right? Think short flight. Oh, I'm going to fly to France here. And boom, there I am. And I took this first step, and now I'm feeling good because, hey, I'm in a different country. I'm doing podcasting now. And then maybe after that, take another short flight going to England. Maybe the podcast turns into a YouTube video, right? So now, whoa, we are maybe like branching out a little bit and going to Italy, right? So that's kind of like nearly how you need to think about it. You need to lay out your itinerary or your flight schedule based on more manageable tasks instead of thinking like you got to do it all at once. And that is really the secret right there.
Yeah, that's 100% my problem when it comes to scheduling. I just write in my agenda everything that has to be done that day. And I find that so many of my tasks are repeated day. So they just get pushed over and pushed over and pushed over. But yeah, it's funny because the whole scared to fail thing was really prevalent for me. And then I started to realize, after all the courses that are in the graveyard, that we really have access to way more information than we could possibly use. And if we narrow it down, like for me, I couldn't figure out for the life of me on this podcast how to do a clip. Couldn't figure it out for the life of me. And my editor's like, okay, I'll do it for you. And then I thought, no, I got to learn how to do this. Like, this is something, you just pick something, right? And it took me forever. And it took me 17 YouTube videos, search this. But when I did it, felt like I won the lottery. So so I started kind of shifting my mind around failing just means it's not even failing. It's like looking at something going, okay, that just didn't work for me, which means I need to go right or I need to go left and find something else instead of making me freeze, which is what I would totally do. I would freeze and then that would be the end of it. I'd be done for the day. So now it's just building those little skills. But you're the pro. So tell moms, and the reason I'm doing this with moms, the reason I'm even thinking like moms, teens, I say that because everything you do, your kids are watching you. So if your kids hearing you forever say, oh man, I really love to try. I'd love to open a business and do this. But you never do it. They're watching. But if you do it and they see the process, they see you fail, they see you get messy, they see you, like, how strong is that for a mom to do for her kids?
You're bringing up an amazing point. And let me tell you one of my favorite stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I teach innovation entrepreneurship at the university, and I love teaching. I'm really passionate. I will never, ever give up teaching college students.
Mm-hmm.
But when I became a mom, that sounds very passive. Maybe let's say when I felt my daughter in my belly, right? It's that first feeling when you feel your child moving around, and now she's 16. I mean, here, it sounds like that just happened yesterday, but it feels like this.
Mm-hmm.
I was teaching college students, and all of a sudden, I felt like somebody was turning up the volume on my senses, because I looked at these college students, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh, this could be my children. This could be my son or daughter. I didn't know the gender, right there in front of me. And it made me a better educator. Because I started to think, I'm not just teaching innovation entrepreneurship. I'm not just talking about an elevator pitch. When I talk about an elevator pitch, I'm making these 20-year-olds better humans, because they're learning how to communicate in concise language. And it's not just to start a business, but also to let others know how amazing they are in form of like a pitch, right? Whether they're interviewing, whether they're introducing themselves to their future husband, all of a sudden they're becoming better humans. So making that shift in my thinking, oh, I'm a mom and I'm working full time. All of a sudden I thought, I need to look at everything that I do as it's positively enhancing who I am. So being a mom isn't just an excuse that some things don't get done. It actually was, for me, more an empowerment that I understand and I'm more empathetic to the student in the classroom. I'm sharing things in the classroom with my students so that they understand that. I basically tell my students in the classroom, right, so I have 2 teenagers at home, and this is what we're doing, and this is what we're struggling. And last weekend, my 2 teenage daughters, they see that I'm teaching, and they see that I have my business and wellness coaching business. They get inspired by this. And so we saw a flyer for a teenage business entrepreneurship fair. And they said, you know what? We want to sell our products. We're making all this pottery in school. And while I love pottery, don't get me wrong, it's kind of like the mom with the child always comes, Mommy, I made a picture for you. It's like, what are you doing with all this?
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of pottery, and beautiful. I don't have a problem with it. I just really don't need it, European efficiency. So I said, well, let's sell some of these things, right? Because they're gorgeous, and I'm sure others will appreciate it. There's a market out there. So I used my language with my children, and they were really good salespeople. So they saw that I am putting together, my logo, my slogan, my pitch, pricing, and they started doing that for their own business. And then I started talking about this in the classroom with my students. So you see where I'm going is I'm basically not looking at my life anymore. That's my role, and there's my other role, and there's this role. But I'm letting things weave in a little bit more because it makes me more of a well-rounded individual. And I'm not afraid to share things in one of these roles from the other role, because I think that sometimes people tend to look at us and they only see the one role that you're doing right now, and they don't understand that you have a whole other baggage of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that is, I think, what was the biggest shift for me, that I shared things at home of what I teach at work, that inspired my children, that I also always have the door open to my office and my children can come in and see how I'm preparing my coaching material.
Mhm.
That, I think, was the shift, that it wasn't necessarily something that I felt I need to create in isolation, but more, let me tell you what I'm doing. And with that, I'm hoping to inspire you. You can't force them to do things,
No.
but if you make it very open, people see it, and then they eventually just kind of, they feel the passion and the joy.
Oh, yeah. I feel like it ripples out. And I feel like when you're doing what brings you joy,
Yes.
it's not compartmentalized. It
No.
comes home, it comes out because you're always energized. You're always talking about it. It's not like you get in the car at 5 o'clock and say, don't want to talk about my day. I'm out. I'm done. Now I'm all over the place. And I told you I went back to university, and my daughter at 30, she had her career. She was writing for radio stations. And she said, you know what? I think I want to do something different. What do you think about if I go back to school at 30? And I said, well, let's go back a few years. And she was like, oh, yeah, you did that. I said, damn right I did. And I had 2 kids. So, yes, you go do it. And now she is just living the dream. This was just a year so far. And she's just loving. She's doing her throughout the day. And that's what I feel like that's what we impart with our kids. We don't have to say, you need to do this, you need to do. They just watch. It's like they watch our reactions to things. They watch how we feel about things. They watch, what brings us joy. And then they don't have to wait. This is my point. My long point is, so many of us wait until we're 50, 55. And I would just love to shorten that time span for kids to think, oh, I don't have to follow that path and then do something later. I can feel what this is like in my body now and just have joy all day. Like, what a concept.
Yep, that's the perfect encouragement right there, because it's truly, we are the best role models. And sometimes that's another thing that, we just, our passions change. And we are afraid to admit that, right? It's just like our wardrobe favorites change, or our flavors change. So you might like, I'm just going to bring up an example right here. I just recently started drinking vanilla lattes.
Oh.
And I'm not even afraid about this. I'm like, you know what? 2024 is my vanilla latte year. Will that be the same in 2025? No, but you know what? That's all right. And that's something you need to embrace. So if you worked in a career and you loved it, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what? Been there, done that. That was amazing. And right now, it's just not right anymore. It just doesn't feel good. So maybe I want to go the vanilla latte route, and I want to try something totally different, even though I used to be drinking green tea. Now I'm like going down that road. And that's cool, because you need to listen to your body and be in your passions, because then you're going to be really good with this. And we tend to kind of, like with the laundry, we just tend to shove it in a different room and say, I'm going to close the door. I know it's in there, but I'm going to wait until, and then there is this arbitrary date. Don't do that.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So let's give our moms 5 steps. Like, what? So they're in the situation we're talking. They've got this corporate job. Teens are at home, and they know they want to move, but they're petrified. Besides calling someone like you, or in addition to calling someone like you, what can we give them, like, little bite-sized steps to take?
Yeah. So I call it my 5C framework, right? I'm a very structured thinker, very
Mhm.
German and European, and I like to anchor things around letters or numbers. So let's start with the first one, right? First C is, well, we have to start connecting. There's no way around it. Even though you are the absolute superpower, you actually start connecting with yourself at that very moment.
Mhm.
And that will actually help you and figure out what you're really good at. So you could start thinking about, what in the past have I really enjoyed? And this is really important. What in the past can I let go? So you need to create a joy list and you need to create a to go list. And that connection with yourself will help you and refine the dream that you're really going to go for. And now the second connection piece is, you also then need to connect with others and you have to communicate that. So
Mhm.
you have to communicate your dream to others. It's unbelievable how many times. So I want to write a book. How many times I say I want to write a book, and by communicating it and voicing it, I feel more confident about it. You see how many C's I'm weaving into this, right? But it also is unbelievable the connections that I'm building because I'm sharing my dream. So I connected with myself and I was like, no, this is something I really want to do. I
Mhm.
love writing. I don't want to write a textbook. So there's my
Mhm.
no list. I want to write a fun book.
Mhm.
It's short and it's fun and it's cute. So I'm going to start connecting with people that can help me get there. So then you have to communicate it, right?
Mhm.
And that is sometimes we are afraid of communicating it because we're feeling like, oh my gosh, it seems like super embarrassing. People will be like, you want to write a book? Like, you
Yes.
don't do that, you know?
Or you become accountable. Then it's like 20 years later, where's that book? Where's the book you told me about? Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that leads to the next step. So we connected.
Mhm.
The communication piece, super important right there.
Yeah.
All right. Now comes the next step. How can you collaborate? Which doesn't necessarily even mean that you reach out to others, but collaboration also means that you kind of create a little bit of a timeline, or you pull in different strategies, tools, anything that will lead you to your goal right there.
Mhm.
Because the third step is create. Now you actually really have to do it. You connect it, you collaborate it, which means you research things, and you have to set yourself a deadline. Otherwise, you go down the rabbit hole and you're still researching in 5 years. Just see what others recommended, the ones that you
Mhm.
communicated your dream to, see what feels right, and then just go with it.
Yeah.
You will always learn other tools and other systems, but you know what? Right now, we just need to move, you know?
Mhm.
So then we are collaborating. Now we are creating. And the creation means it's probably going to be messy the first time around. It might actually be horrible, right? It might be something you look back to and you're like, what in the world was I thinking? When I look at my first podcast recordings,
Oh,
put it on a phone. I mean, I'm like, do you really think that's a good strategy? Like talking into my phone.
oh my gosh, you're living my life. Yep.
And the funny thing is, I thought I probably need to have a guest, right? There's podcasts and they all have guests. And I was like, who's living in my house? Oh, I'm going to ask my husband. So in my interview with my husband, who was my first guest, we passed the phone back and forth like a walkie-talkie.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, but you know what? Now I'm laughing about it. Back then, it seemed pretty good. I researched and it was like, yeah, use your phone as a recording device. I didn't think about the fact that I guess I could also film the video part of it, but that's in the past now,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So moving on, right? Connection, communicated, you collaborated, now we are creating. And now comes the really important part. You have to have the confidence and push publish.
Mm.
If you don't have the confidence and put publish, it's going to live on your computer. It's just going to be content that
Yeah.
will be content forever. And you need to create it to share it, right? So having the confidence is so important because it's actually something that you put your work into it, and think now is the time is done. I already put it out there. I just have to actually share it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's it.
That's amazing. I feel like you just coached my ass off. And it's funny because we talk about these little quirks like doing things on the phone and passing things, but if people don't see that, they only see the finished. So we have to share that this is what it's like to start.
Yeah.
This is and yeah, my credit card account with all the courses I've taken and said, "Ooh, no, I don't like that. Oh, but this looks good. Let's try this shiny ball over here." And something will stick and something will feel good. And if we don't tell people about that, they just think there's this finished product they're never going to get to. This painting that's got the varathane and everything on it. We didn't get messy with it. Nothing's on our hands. And so I really think it's important that we share these things.
It is actually really important because we all stop at one point or another along that 5C journey, right?
Mhm.
You might get stuck at the communication piece. You might get stuck at the collaboration piece where, you just keep searching for the best tool thing out there. And there's always, as I say, even with podcasting, there are always new things that come out.
Mhm.
And my rule is I look at them and I briefly evaluate, but I don't dwell on them because I know that what I'm doing right now is working. And so unless it's like there's like a huge financial reason to do it, I consider it. But
Mhm.
otherwise, I'm like, So for instance, I have a course, a wellness course and a
Mhm.
mastermind. And for years and years, I paid a course learning management software $500 per year. And now I figured out there's actually another system out there where you pay $500 for a lifelong subscription. So
Mhm.
that's when I'm actually going to pull the trigger and I'm transferring all my stuff over to this lifelong subscription because it makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay $500 for eternity
No.
when every year when I could just pay it once and it's done. But like the little things like, I could save like $2 per month if I transfer all this. It's not worth it.
Not worth the
Because
time. No. Oh
it's
my
just
goodness.
money. It's just money, but you
Yeah.
will not get your time back.
No.
And think about all the insanity you're going to drive yourself because this is not going to be that easy to switch. So I have podcast interviews all the time and everybody uses a different system and all this. And unless there's a big issue with it, I say just stick to it.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, when people load dishwashers, right? You could go ahead and you open the drawers and like, well, the forks actually go this way and the knives here. And well, the plates will get so much cleaner if we put them this way. But you know what? If it cleans the dishes, don't redo the whole thing.
No.
You know?
Yeah. My partner loads like in order and height and color and everything. And I load it like I'm a raccoon on meth. Like
Yeah. I'm the same way. I'm like, the countertop is clean. It's all in there. And then I switch on and it feels so gratifying.
yeah.
My husband is like, yes, like the pre-rinse. I'm just not that way. I'm
Nope.
more like the put it in, switch on, and move away from the situation person. And
yes.
it's just, it gets the job done because
Yep.
all of my husband sees when he opens the dishwasher, well, 90% of the time, all of them are clean. I have to admit, the system might be better, but you know what? I don't care.
No.
Because to me, it's just like that famous book that's called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff.
Yes. And it's all small stuff. That's right. I love it. Okay. So we've got connect, collaborate, communicate,
create,
and then
confidence,
push the button, publish. I love it. I love what a great system. This is great. Oh,
the confidence is a big one because I just learned that recently too, that it has a lot to do with, not even moving from piece to piece, with being perfectionist and being so hard on yourself. And after we published, maybe there's a typo somewhere or something like that, and like questioning things. And it has a lot to do with that. The confidence is really wallowing over all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and I've just read a book lately where the difference between self-confidence and self-worth is that self-confidence can come and go. But if you feel inside that you're worthy of giving it a shot anyway, then it doesn't matter, right? The confidence can come. But if you're feeling like I can do this no matter what, then great. Then that's the confidence. That's where it comes from. Courage, confidence, worth, all of that. But you're right. I mean, I got to the point now where when I do my Instagram reels, which took me forever to find the guts to do, when I do it, I will not edit it. I do it and I send it. I do it and I send it. And I don't care. I don't care if I'm stuttering, if I, have something going on in the background that I shouldn't, whatever. But that's just for me personally. That was my level of going, just publish. Don't worry about if it's not perfect. You don't have your lipstick on, your offices. It doesn't matter, right? So I totally, those 5 C's are perfect. Like I said, I think you just coached my own ass off, which is great.
Oh yeah, and it's great that you bring it up with social media, because I used to think so much about, I have to create like a little thumbprint for each post on Instagram, and it has to be this 9-grid thing where it follows a pattern and things. And then after a while, I was like, do people actually look at the 9-grid? Do they look at my profile like, oh, oh my gosh, there's a big boo-boo in the middle? And I was like, no. So I don't do that anymore. I don't do the cover art thing. I basically just record a video and I put it out there. And it's great for me because I'm feeling it shows more authentically who I am, instead of having this whole like polished image.
I agree.
I think that we sometimes we feel like we need to be on this pedestal and show up to the world in a certain way, and it's just absolutely not necessary
and not realistic, and it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Like if we're here to guide and help and set examples, especially for our kids, like showing them the perfect and we have all the answers is not helping at all. It's not, right?
And you have to admit it too. I mean, I teach a class. It could be a workout class. It could be an innovation class. It could be my coaching. And then sometimes I say, you know what? I'm really tired. So that's just what it is. That's the point where I'm at right now. I'm not going to cancel class over this, but that's just today I'm just that. And by communicating your needs, you are actually creating a little bit more, like it's nearly like we have this wall and you're making it a little bit more, you're creating these little pores of empathy that can come through, right?
Yeah.
And that is so important for females, because females, we like to talk to each other and help each other out, but by not sharing what you actually need, it makes it very difficult to figure out, how can I even talk to you? I don't even know, really, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We hold space for ourselves in that way, then we automatically hold space for everybody else. What a gift.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. This was such a great conversation. I had so much fun with this. And the 5 C's, we're going to put everything in the show notes, but tell everybody where to find you, how to work with you, resources, all of the things. Let us know.
Well, yeah, thank you. I'm realizing now, I guess Cheryl and Christiana, we are the remaining 2 C's in our little list of happiness right there.
I love it. I love it.
So reach out, please. It's hellohappiness.com. And I do have that mastermind, which is a really fun and bubbly group. We are lifting each other up, and we are also there to empower each other and push through, because I think the community piece is super important. Tune into my podcast. It's called Happy Healthy Hustle. And then, of course, if you want to check out my Instagram, minus the 9-grid layout, go to hello.happy.nest. And you can find, I actually do post every single day. You can find my videos there.
I see it.
It's just something that I started, speaking about my petite practices that I use in my coaching. I started doing it. Now it's just a practice, and I just do it. And it's It's like, oh yeah, today I shared about vanilla latte.
It's amazing. I love it.
I actually thought last night, I was like, here we are in April. Yeah. I need to share some like controversial habit that I picked up that is not really something that other people might think that I'm doing, because a lot of people are like, oh, I have to reduce my caffeine intake. I thought, oh, I need to post about, I actually leveled up my caffeine intake.
I love it. I'm going in the right direction.
I'm like, January 1, I'm like, yeah, let's try some vanilla lattes.
Love it.
And I mean, I love it, you know?
That's amazing. Well, thank you, Christiane. I really appreciate this. And thank you for the work that you do. It's good stuff. And I'm so grateful that you're doing it and getting it out there. And thank you for listening to Teen Minds Redefined. Once again, Christiane Schroeter. And we will put everything in the show notes for everybody.